So joints act, muscles react, which is a very hard one for a lot of people to get their head around. But once you do, it opens up a greater understanding of human movement in essence. Muscles lengthen before they shorten. So we have to, like a rubber band, we have to pull back before we let it go flying. That's just how muscles will work. We lengthen and load before we explode. Then we're also hardwired for perfection. So if we think about the brain's primary purpose, its first primary goal is to survive. And in order for that brain to survive, it must have oxygen, fuel, blood flow. And that means that anything that takes away from its primary purpose is going to be not as efficient as it needs to be. So the brain is constantly adjusting on a subconscious, autonomic level the way in which the body is moving and existing in the most efficient way it can. And that means that, say you sprain your ankle, now what way are you going to move? Well, the brain is going to say, well, we got to shift the weight a little bit over more onto this leg. We'll let the person push off their toes, but we're not going to come striking down on the heel because that's going to be painful. So we need to adjust it. No, it's not the most efficient way, but it's the next most efficient way that we can do it. You don't sprain your ankle and suddenly the brain says, you know what? Let's start by doing handsprings or walking on your hands. That would not make sense. So we are hardwired for perfection. On the flip side of that, if we give the body or the brain a more efficient way of moving than what it currently is doing, then the brain's going to say, oh, that's actually a better way. It's reducing the need to expend excess energy. So that means better survival for me. Let's reinforce that movement pattern more. So if we can put somebody into a place where they are moving more efficiently, the brain is going to reinforce that, especially if that movement is reinforced physically over time. The brain will just continually try and strive for that. And so there's 3. We orbit around a center, meaning that as you stand still, you're not really standing still. Your breath is bringing the rib cage in and out. The food that you digested is moving through your body. Blood is coursing throughout your body, and your mass is constantly shifting over your feet to try and keep you from falling down. So we're always orbiting around this ideal center. And the further we travel from center, the more compromised our structure and the weaker we typically are. So when the chiropractor adjusts your spine or hips or whatever and pulls you back into better alignment, you're actually in a much more balanced place, and you have a center that is closer to the ideal from which you can orbit. And so that's a big part of what we look for is where is a person's mass and where is their center? Can we restore it into a more efficient manner, halfway between both feet, halfway between forward and back, where ideally, no matter where you go, you're starting from a central place. And then the other one is your movements are dictated by your perceived center. So not the true ideal, but wherever you find yourself shifting your body, that normalizes. And the further away you get from center, the less you are going to move optimally. There are plenty of athletes out there that are not properly aligned, and they are some of the best ones to get around their imbalances and their restrictions and still be world-class athletes. But just imagine if we were to take that world-class athlete and actually bring them back into a much more centrated place, what might their potential be from there? So those are the 5 rules of movement and so or motion that I not only abide by, but I use as a governing kind of compass to help direct the programs we design in our studio to be the most effective they can be for all people that come in here. And I've had NFL players, NHL, NBA, that Santa Cruz isn't the hub for those sports, but they wander through here and they'll train with me. I've got some world-class surfers, of course, being in Santa Cruz, but then we've also got grandparents and little kids. Everybody can really abide by the philosophy of restoring a person back to a central place for optimal movement and performance. compared to the conventional way that it's been going on for decades now.